For many visitors to Hamburg, a boat tour through the Hanseatic city's harbor is one of the main attractions. At low tide, the boats also visit the historic Speicherstadt, or Warehouse District. In the 19th century, Hamburg merchants stored and refined their imported goods in the huge complex of buildings. It used to be only accessible by water.
The buildings are great and the colors are different than in other cities. It's unique.
Workers loaded the wares, mainly coffee, tea, and spice, onto small boats in the port and brought them here. Newly inscribed in the list of World Heritage Sites is also an adjacent complex of office buildings, known as the Kantohäuser, including the famous Chile House from the 1920s. It's one of Hamburg's first high-rise buildings. Cultural studies expert Claudia Grunberg welcomes the inclusion of Hamburg's historic architecture on the list.
The Speicherstadt and the Chile House are really beautiful new World Heritage sites because they represent a bit more of the modern age. We have a great interplay of historical and more modern buildings. So that's why I think it's nice that we have a new UNESCO site in Germany that's from a more recent time.
By the 1980s, the Speicherstadt became one of the world's largest transshipment points for Oriental rugs. Carpet dealer Parvis Zandvakili has storerooms here and still moves his wares using rope winches more than 100 years old.
It takes much longer than loading pallets onto a truck with a forklift. But it has its charms.
Nowadays, the Speicherstadt is a colorful mix of shops. And there's a cafe housed in historical warehouse space that dates back to 1888.
The atmosphere here lets you sense the aroma of the big, wide world. There's the scent of the coffee that's offered here, which comes from various tropical countries.
I thought it was wonderful that you can dive into an atmosphere here that smells of coffee.
There's also room in the warehouse space for Germany's largest model railway. Local planners spent 10 years developing a concept for keeping the district alive.
I think that with the Speicherstadt, the nice thing is the size, the openness and the functionality. We're getting away from kitsch, from the representations that had been dragged along. Suddenly there are very open structures, which can be used wonderfully today.
Each year, 1 million people visit Speicherstadt, and there is a museum to tell visitors all about it.
What's special about the Speicherstadt is that it's a city of warehouses, the world's largest warehouse complex. The architects back then really designed it as a city. We actually had city gates.
Hamburg is proud of its Speicherstadt, built in the 19th century as a very modern district for service providers. Back then, residential blocks were raised to make way for the warehouses. Now the Speicherstadt is part of Hamburg's modern Hafen city with several hundred apartments. The inclusion on the UNESCO list will keep the architectural and cultural history alive.